Welcome to GODSpeed, where truth meets life in under 10 minutes. I'm AK, and this is hope for your journey.
You send the text, no response. You double text, still nothing. You're getting ready to call and suddenly you're wondering, am I being persistent or just annoying? How many times do you feel comfortable asking for something that matters? At what point do you decide it's not worth it and walk away? Will you ask again? Jesus is talking to his students about the importance of persisting, not losing courage in the amount of times you might have to ask. He uses a parable, which is a fictional story to tell a truthful idea. And this one is about a judge who represents power and a widow to illustrate someone who's desperately in need of support. At that time, widows had no legal standing. They couldn't own property, couldn't represent themselves in court, and had almost no rights. If someone wronged them, their only hope was convincing a judge to take up their case. So let's jump in there. This comes from Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. One day, Jesus told his disciples a story to show that they should always pray and never give up. There was a judge in a certain city, he said, who neither feared God nor cared about people. A widow of that city came to him repeatedly, saying, "Give me justice in this dispute with my enemy." The judge ignored her for a while, but finally he said to himself, "I don't fear God or care about people, but this woman is driving me crazy. I'm going to see that she gets justice, because she is wearing me out with her constant requests." Then the Lord said, "Learn a lesson from this unjust judge. Even he rendered a just decision in the end. So don't you think God will surely give justice to his chosen people who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will grant justice to them quickly. But when the Son of Man returns, how many will he find on the earth who have faith?" To win over the judges in your life, you need to persist on the things that matter. And I want us to look today at 3 judges we all face. The first are the external judges. So this widow faced a judge who held all the power. He could say yes or no, and she had zero leverage, no influence, no connections. All she had was persistence. She kept showing up, she kept asking, and eventually her persistence broke through the judge's indifference. So you face external judges too. The gatekeepers who decide if you get the opportunity, the systems that are designed to keep you out, the people who have the power to say yes or no to your dreams, your career, your vision. And sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they will ignore you, but the question is, will you keep asking? Will you keep showing up? Or will you let their indifference convince you that it's not meant to be and that you should give up? I learned from this story, persistence isn't about being annoying. It's about believing that what you're asking for matters enough to keep pursuing it. The widow didn't give up because she knew her case was just. She knew she deserved justice. And she wasn't going to let an indifferent judge rob her of it. So don't let gatekeepers or biased systems have the final word. Keep knocking, keep asking, keep showing up. Next, there are internal judges. And this is a harder truth because sometimes the judge you need to win over isn't out there, but in you. Yes, sometimes the person that needs convincing is the very voice inside of you. If I'm honest, the most critical, cynical, and ruthless judge I've ever dealt with is myself. There's this voice inside of me that says, "You've tried this before and failed." The voice that replays all of my past mistakes on a loop and uses them as tangible evidence that I cannot do it. It's the voice that won't release a past weakness that keeps saying, "You cannot become more than what you've been." Our internal judges are exhausting because they never take a day off, and they always have a reason why you shouldn't try again. And they're hard because you can't really escape yourself. So persistence here looks different. It's not about convincing yourself that you're perfect or pretending failures didn't happen. It's about choosing to try again despite what that internal voice is saying to you. It's about offering yourself the same grace you'd show someone you love. It's about quieting the judge inside long enough to take one more step forward. My friend, you are not disqualified by your past. You are not defined by what didn't work. And sometimes persistence is just giving yourself permission to start over, to pivot, to let go of what you thought it had to look like, and embrace the goodness of what you are and who you are. Finally, I want to talk about the perfect judge, because Jesus ends this parable with a comparison. If even an unjust judge will eventually give justice because of persistence, how much more will God, who is just and loving, respond to people who call out to him? Here's the difference. The widow had to wear down an indifferent judge, but God isn't indifferent to you. He's not reluctant, and he is not annoyed by your pleas. In fact, persistence in prayer, in thought, in action isn't about changing God's mind. It's about our faith growing and our trust in him being refined. If you can see even a fragment of justice in human court systems, you know that a good judge can administer justice and grace simultaneously. And that is the God we serve, a God who sees you, hears you, and cares deeply about what you're facing. And if you haven't really met him, I encourage you to read these scriptures for yourself and discover who he is. And here's the encouragement. Persistence matters, not because you have to earn what you're asking for, but because the act of persisting will shape you. It will build your faith, and it will remind you and those you interact with in the world that what you're pursuing matters. Don't let external judges convince you to quit. Don't let internal judges disqualify you. And don't stop bringing your requests to the perfect judge who sees, hears, and cares. Keep asking. Keep showing up. Again and again. God, give me the faith and energy to try again. Bless me with the courage to persist, even when I'm tired, even when I'm discouraged, and when the answer hasn't come yet. Amen.
I will always love you how I do. Let go of the prayer for you. Just a sweet word